So you're fed up with working in an office and you think you want to be an artist. You've asked yourself, what's the most amount of work I can do for the least amount of money? Well, great. You're well on your way to becoming a comic artist. So here we go. Hi, my name's Will. I'm the author and illustrator of Kita, Princess of Orith, and a couple other comics that are featured on my Substack titled Momentum Game. In this video, I'd like to talk to you about my process for making a comic. I want to note that there are a ton of elements that make up a comic. It's an interdisciplinary medium, so there's a lot of things to consider. You've got story, you've got character, you've got dramatic tension, you've got composition when you come to illustration, composition of the page, composition of the panel, the posing of the characters, environment art, you've got character art, you've got that's a lot to think about. So I want to break it down into some more attainable steps. And this first video, I'm going to call the comic process. So I'm just going to give the basic steps that you need to put it all together. We're not going to go into the granular details of how to tell a story or how to set up a compelling composition or how to draw. It's just going to be, how do I put my comic together and how do I have a process to do that? To start, let's just quickly define process. A quick Google search says a series of actions or steps in order to achieve a particular end. So that's great. That's what we're looking for. For a comic, that can be the same series of steps regardless of your genre or the story you're writing, i.e., creating your super cool, totally sick comic book. Now that we've defined process, let's outline the process we're going to use for making a comic. And to do this, I'm going to use an analogy of the human body. The bones are the basic kind of structure of the human body, right? It's the foundation that determines how everything else shapes up. So for us, that's going to be the script or the story. That's what everything else in the comic is built around. Just like the bones are the foundation of the body, the script is the foundation of the comic. So the next part of the process is going to be the outline. And for us, that's kind of going to be the muscles. The outline is going to be a quick drawing. It's where we get together our basic composition for the page and start to understand how the comic's actually going to look, where we start to visualize what's happening in the script in a really rough, loose way, but starting to give us some of the form and shape of the comic. So that's why it's I would call it the muscles. Quick aside here, I'm also going to throw in, let's call it the organs. And I'm going to say that's the development and design drawings. We're going to kind of put that aside for now. That's something we can look in more detail in another video. So we've got the script, the bones, we've got the muscles, the outline. The last step in the process is to ink the page. And we'll call this the skin. So this is the part where we make everything pretty. We make it the recognizable, nice looking, finalized art. That's basically the whole process. So the script, the outline, and the inking. These are the basic steps that I use for every comic I make. Of course, there's way more to talk about in each one of these steps. And I've also kind of left out whole other categories like lettering and coloring. I guess if we were going to stick to this analogy, we could kind of say that's the clothing the guy's wearing, right? He's got his t-shirt on here, which is going to be our lettering and coloring. Big guy, he's got a big t-shirt on. I'm going to note here as well that this process doesn't have to be linear. So we can particularly go back and forth between our outline and our script and make changes. And as I mentioned earlier, how there's also the development and the design drawings, if we're going to call those the guts, the organs. You know, depending on how you work, it might be helpful to completely write the script and then go into design drawings and then go from the design drawings to the outline. But other people, they might write a little bit and then they might draw a little bit and then they'll switch back and forth, and the drawing inform the writing. Maybe they do the outline and they don't really know what their characters look like, so they go back to some development drawings and flush that out a little bit more. So I would say it doesn't have to be linear for the bones and the muscles. They can kind of go back and forth a little bit, but try as much as you can to leave the inking for the last step. So just keep it at those basic building blocks and get started on your first comic. And the best way to find out about other videos is to subscribe. So please subscribe to the channel. I would greatly appreciate it. Thank you guys. And as always, peace in your hearts.